Daniel had always seen Emily as the one constant in his life. They had been together for 2 years, living in a quiet neighborhood in Seattle. Their days were filled with small routines, morning coffee together, late-night walks by the lake, and the kind of conversations that made time disappear. But one Friday evening, as Daniel searched Emily's nightstand for his phone charger, his fingers brushed against something unfamiliar. He pulled it out slowly, and what he saw froze him in place. A box of condoms tucked carefully beneath a stack of old receipts in a notebook. For a moment, Daniel thought maybe he was overthinking. But then, the reality struck him. They never used protection, not once in their relationship. His mind ran wild. Why would she hide these? Who are they for? The discovery felt like a crack spreading across the glass of his trust. His throat tightened, and his pulse quickened. He placed the box back exactly where he found it. But the thought gnawed at him. Emily had never given him a reason to doubt her, yet here was proof of something he couldn't explain. A cold wave of suspicion swept through him, twisting his stomach. He stood in the room for a long time, staring at the drawer, feeling as though his entire world had shifted in seconds. That night, Emily was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Daniel sat at the table, pretending to scroll through his phone. His eyes wandered toward the counter where a bottle of chili oil stood, left over from the pasta he had made the night before. His mind, foggy with anger and confusion, latched onto a reckless idea. His hands moved without thought. He quietly took the condoms from the drawer, carried them to the kitchen, and with trembling fingers used a syringe to inject a few drops of chili oil into each one. He sealed the wrappers back carefully, heart pounding. It wasn't logic that drove him, it was desperation. He wasn't seeking revenge. He wanted to know the truth. If Emily was hiding something, if she was being unfaithful, this reckless act would reveal it. But as soon as he put the box back in the drawer, a deep guilt began to sink in. He had done something he couldn't undo. At dinner, Emily smiled at him, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside his chest. She asked about his day, laughed at a story he told, and carried on as though nothing was different. But for Daniel, everything had changed. He couldn't look at her the same way. He watched her carefully, studying every move, every glance. The warmth in her eyes only made his heart ache more. Is this the face of someone keeping secrets? Or am I losing my mind? That night, when Emily fell asleep beside him, Daniel lay awake staring at the ceiling. His thoughts spiraled. The drawer. The box. The hidden truth. He replayed the moment over and over again, trying to piece together what it could mean. Every scenario cut him deeper. Was she planning to leave him? Was there someone else? The seconds dragged into hours. His chest felt heavy, his throat dry. He turned to look at Emily's peaceful face in the soft glow of the bedside lamp. She looked innocent, almost fragile in sleep, and it only made his heart hurt more. Why hide something like this from me? The memory of what he had done with the chili oil gnawed at him. It wasn't just about her secrets anymore. It was about his own weakness, his own fear. He had acted in a way that didn't feel like himself. The guilt clung to him like a shadow. By morning, he hadn't slept at all. He dragged himself out of bed, moved through the kitchen like a ghost, and sat with his coffee untouched. Emily came in, cheerful, humming as she brewed her tea. She kissed his cheek and asked if he was okay. Daniel forced a smile, nodding. But inside he felt like a man standing on the edge of a cliff. All day the box haunted him. It wasn't just an object anymore. It was a symbol of everything he didn't know about Emily, the secrets she might be keeping, the truth that could either break them or bring them closer, and the fear that his own actions had already set something in motion that he couldn't control. For Daniel, the discovery in that drawer wasn't just about hidden condoms. It was about the shattering of trust, the slow unraveling of certainty, and the heavy realization that love sometimes hides shadows we're not ready to face. That night, as he lay in bed again, he whispered to himself, "I just need to know the truth." And with that, the stage was set. The next choice he made would either uncover everything or destroy what they had built together. The next evening, Daniel sat at the dining table waiting for Emily. His thoughts hadn't stopped racing since the night before. The box in the drawer was all he could think about. Every smile of hers felt like a mask now, every word like something rehearsed. When Emily walked through the door, her face glowing from the cool Seattle air, she looked the same as always, cheerful, gentle, full of energy. But to Daniel, nothing looked the same anymore. "Smells good in here," Emily said, dropping her bag and moving toward the kitchen. She leaned down and kissed Daniel lightly on the cheek, her usual greeting. He forced a smile, his heart thudding with unease. They ate together, just like they always did. Emily chatted about her day at the office, a new project, and how her boss had been unusually kind. She laughed at small things, her hands animated as she spoke. Daniel nodded, offered a few short responses, but inside, his mind was somewhere else entirely. He was watching her closely, searching her eyes for anything that didn't match her words. Every time she looked at him with softness, he felt torn between believing her and doubting her. When she reached across the table to touch his hand, Daniel almost pulled away. The warmth of her skin clashed with the cold thoughts running through him. He asked himself again, how can she sit here, smiling at me, while keeping something hidden? After dinner, Emily hummed as she cleared the dishes, moving gracefully through the kitchen. Daniel stayed seated, staring at his glass of water. His reflection in it looked like a stranger, haunted, restless, unsure. He couldn't take the silence between them anymore, but his courage wasn't strong enough to ask her directly. He wanted proof. Emily disappeared into the bathroom for a shower, leaving her phone on the counter. It buzzed twice, the screen lighting up with a message. Daniel's eyes locked onto it. His chest tightened. He told himself not to look, that it was wrong, that trust meant more than curiosity. But the buzzing pulled at him like gravity. He picked it up. The lock screen showed the sender's name, Chris. He had never heard of a Chris before. His hand trembled as he opened the message. It was short, but sharp enough to cut deep. "Don't forget to bring them tonight." Daniel's stomach sank. The words replayed in his head, louder each time. He closed the phone quickly, putting it back exactly where it was. His heart raced so fast he felt dizzy. So it's true. She's planning something with someone else. And those condoms, those were never for us. The sound of running water from the shower filled the house. But Daniel felt only silence pressing against him. His chest ached, his breath shallow. He tried to stand, but sat back down, weak with shock. His hands covered his face as he tried to process what he had just read. Emily came back minutes later. Her hair wrapped in a towel, her skin fresh from the shower. She smiled when she saw him, unaware of the storm raging inside him. "You look tired," she said softly. "Long day." Daniel couldn't answer. His voice felt stuck, heavy with the weight of the truth he thought he now held. He studied her face, her eyes that always seemed so kind, her lips that still carried warmth. How could those same lips be planning to meet someone else? Emily sat beside him on the couch, leaning against him casually, scrolling through her phone as though nothing in the world was wrong. Daniel's eyes flicked to the screen, but she kept it turned away. The silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. In his chest, two voices battled. One screamed at him to confront her immediately, to demand answers. The other whispered to wait, to be sure, to avoid tearing their love apart too soon. He sat frozen, caught in between, feeling like a man standing on a wire above a canyon. That night, when Emily curled up beside him in bed, Daniel barely moved. Her breathing slowed as she drifted into sleep, but his eyes stayed open, staring into the dark. The glow of her phone still haunted him. The words of that message echoed endlessly in his head. He turned onto his side, watching her sleep peacefully. She looked like the Emily he knew, the woman he loved, the one he once believed would never lie to him. But now, everything was blurred. He felt like he was sharing his bed with a stranger. Daniel clenched his fists under the blanket. He wanted the truth, but he feared it too. What if asking her destroyed them completely? What if the truth was worse than he imagined? And beneath all of it was another fear that is reckless. Act with the chilly oil might play a role in whatever came next. The night dragged on. Long and heavy, filled with the sound of Emily's steady breathing and Daniel's restless thoughts. Every minute, the distance between them grew wider. Even though they were lying inches apart by dawn, Daniel hadn't slept at all. His eyes were red, his body exhausted, but his mind refused to stop spinning. He knew one thing for certain now. The question could no longer stay buried. The drawer, the box, the message, all of it demanded answers. The next evening, Daniel's chest felt like a drum, pounding with every breath. He had carried the weight of that message all day, unable to focus at work. Unable to think of anything else but Emily and the name Chris. By the time he walked through the front door of their apartment, he knew he couldn't keep pretending. The truth had to come out tonight. Emily was sitting on the couch, scrolling on her phone, a blanket draped across her lap. She looked up, her face lighting with the smile he had always loved. "Hey, you're home early," she said warmly. Her voice sounded normal, casual, but to Daniel it felt like a performance. His hands clenched into fists as he set down his bag. He sat across from her, his heart racing. "Emily," he began, but his voice cracked. He cleared his throat, trying to find steadiness. "Can I ask you something?" Her smile softened. "Of course, what's wrong?" Daniel hesitated. Every part of him wanted to run from this conversation, to stay in the comfort of pretending. But the image of the message on her phone burned too brightly in his mind. He leaned forward, his voice low and heavy. "Who is Chris?" The blanket slipped from her lap as Emily froze. Her eyes widened slightly, and then her face shifted into something unreadable. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she whispered, "Why are you asking me that?" Daniel's chest tightened. He pulled his phone from his pocket and placed it on the coffee table, though he hadn't taken a screenshot. "I saw the message," he said, his voice breaking. "I wasn't looking for anything, but it was there. Don't forget to bring them tonight." "What does that mean, Emily?" Her eyes filled with panic, and for a moment she looked like she might cry. She reached for his hand, but he pulled it back. Her lips trembled. "Daniel, it's not what you think." Anger and heartbreak tangled inside him. "Then tell me what it is. Tell me why I found a box of condoms hidden in your drawer. Tell me why someone named Chris is asking you to bring them. Tell me why I feel like I don't even know you anymore." His words came fast, sharp, like stones tumbling out of his chest. Emily wiped her face, tears spilling. "I didn't want you to know because I thought you'd misunderstand." Daniel's voice rose, though it shook. "How am I supposed to understand when everything points to you hiding something from me? Just say it, Emily. Please, I need the truth." For a long moment, the room was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Emily pressed her palms together, took a shaky breath, and finally spoke. "Chris is not what you think. He's my coworker, yes, but he's not. He's not that. He's been going through something. His younger sister came to him in tears last week. She's scared, Daniel. She doesn't have anyone to talk to. She asked him for something, and he was too embarrassed to buy it himself. He asked me to help, and I did. That's all." Daniel blinked at her, stunned. The explanation hit him like a wave, half relief, half disbelief. "So you're saying the condoms aren't for you? They're for his sister?" Emily nodded quickly, tears still rolling down her cheeks. "I swear to you, Daniel, I wasn't hiding them for myself. I was keeping them until I could give them to Chris at work. I didn't tell you because I thought you'd think it was inappropriate." And now her voice cracked. "Now you think the worst of me anyway." Daniel sat back, his mind spinning. The pieces didn't fit perfectly, but there was no lie in her eyes, no hesitation in her tone. Still, doubt clung to him like a shadow. "Why didn't you just tell me from the start? Why hide it in your drawer like that?" Emily dropped her face into her hands. "Because I didn't want to fight. Because I know how things can look, and I didn't want you to lose trust in me. But hiding it only made it worse. I see that now." Daniel's throat burned as he watched her cry. His anger began to fade, replaced by guilt and exhaustion. For the first time, he thought about his own actions, the chili oil, the reckless impulse, the silent judgment he had carried. He had turned suspicion into punishment without giving her a chance to explain. He rubbed his face with both hands, groaning softly. "Emily, I don't know what to believe right now. I want to trust you, but my head is a mess. Everything I saw, everything I thought, it's been tearing me apart." Emily crawled closer on the couch, reaching for him again. This time he didn't pull away. Her hands wrapped around his tightly, shaking. "I love you, Daniel. I've never given my heart to anyone else. Please, don't let this break us." He looked into her tear-streaked face, searching for the truth in her eyes. There was no sign of betrayal, only pain and fear. His chest ached with the weight of it all. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe he had let suspicion blind him. The room felt smaller, quieter, as they sat together in silence. The storm between them hadn't passed, but the words were finally out in the open. Daniel knew nothing would be the same after tonight, but at least the lies, real or imagined, were no longer hidden in the dark. As the night stretched on, Daniel realized the test wasn't just about Emily's honesty. It was about his own heart, his own ability to trust. And in that moment, he didn't know what hurt more, the possibility of losing her, or the thought that he might be the one pushing her away. The night after their conversation, Daniel lay awake beside Emily, staring into the darkness. The weight of everything pressed on him: the drawer, the message, her tears, her explanation. She was asleep, her breathing steady, but he couldn't quiet the storm in his chest. His thoughts kept circling the same question. Was she telling me the truth? Or was she just saving their relationship with a story I wanted to hear? He turned onto his back, the ceiling faintly lit by the glow of the street lamp outside. He remembered the moment his anger had overtaken him, the reckless decision with the chili oil. The memory filled him with shame. What if she really had been innocent? What if she had never planned anything behind his back? His chest tightened. He had acted not with trust, but with fear. And now he was afraid of what that choice might bring. By morning, the air between them felt heavy but quieter. Emily made breakfast like she always did, pouring him coffee, humming softly, as if trying to rebuild what had cracked. Daniel watched her from across the table, his heart torn. He could see the effort in her eyes, the way she tried to meet his gaze, even though it hurt. She wanted him to believe her. And deep down, he wanted to believe her too. After breakfast, Daniel excused himself and went to the bedroom. He opened the drawer once more, staring at the box of condoms that had caused so much chaos. His chest ached with guilt. He picked it up slowly, his fingers brushing the edges, and he whispered to himself, "This doesn't belong here anymore." Without hesitation, he tucked it into his pocket, walked out of the apartment, and tossed it into a trash bin on the street corner. The sound of it hitting the metal bottom echoed like a release, as though he were throwing away not just the box, but the poison of doubt that had been eating him alive. When he came back, Emily was sitting on the couch waiting. She looked at him with cautious eyes, unsure of where his heart stood. Daniel sat beside her, taking her hand in his. His voice shook, but his words were steady. "Emily, I don't know if I'll ever forget what I saw. It hurt me more than I can explain, but I also know I can't lose you over fear. I want to trust you. I need to trust you. So please, no more secrets, no more hiding. I need the truth, always." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She squeezed his hand tight, her voice breaking. "I promise, Daniel. I'll never hide anything from you again. I don't want to lose you either. You're my home, my safe place. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." Daniel pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. For the first time in days, he felt a small spark of peace. The storm hadn't fully passed, but the first light of hope had broken through the clouds. That evening, as they walked along the lakeside path they often visited, the autumn air was crisp, the sky painted with orange and gold. Emily slipped her arm through his, leaning against him. The silence between them was softer now. It was no longer filled with suspicion, but with the fragile beginnings of healing. Daniel looked out at the water, thinking about the future. Love, he realized, wasn't about never having doubts or fears. It was about choosing to face them together, about trusting, even when it felt hard. He understood now that trust wasn't something handed over once; it had to be rebuilt, piece by piece, especially after cracks had formed. That night, Lying beside Emily once again, Daniel felt a new kind of closeness. They didn't need to say much. Her hand in his was enough. The pain of the past few days lingered, but so did the promise of something stronger, love that could survive storms if they were both willing to hold on. As he closed his eyes, Daniel whispered to himself, "No more secrets." And for the first time since finding that box, he truly believed there was a way forward.